Good day, this is Dimitri Lascaris coming to you from Tehran, Iran on July 7, 2026 for Reason to Resist. What you just saw was a little bit of footage of two women who were walking separately, not with each other, in this gorgeous park this morning. They were walking without a hijab, and as you may have noticed, nobody was bothering them. I also saw moments ago a third woman who was walking without a hijab, but she was too far away from me to capture her on video. In any case, this is a very, very common sight in Iran. I've only been sitting here for 10 minutes in this park this morning, and I've already seen, even though there aren't many people here, as you can see, I've already seen 3 women walking without a hijab and nobody bothering them. I have seen this in every single city that I have visited in Iran over the past 14 months, and I've been in 7 major cities. Whatever the situation may have been in the early days of the Islamic Revolution, and I can't speak to that, I had never been to the country at that point in time, nor did I know any Iranians at that point in time. But whatever the situation may have been, it's very clear that today it is entirely possible for women to go out in public without a head covering and to be left alone, at peace. In any case, this park here is called Mallet Park. It's about a 15-minute walk from my hotel, which we are leaving today. I came here for the first time in May of last year on my very first visit to Iran, and I was so enchanted with the park that I wanted to come back this morning to see it again before leaving for the city of Mashhad, and I'll come back to that in just a second. It's really remarkable to think that the country is at war. It is, because it is so peaceful here today. Today is the 5th day of the 7-day funeral program for the slain Supreme Leader of Iran, Imam Ali Khamenei. The proceedings, those parts of the funereal proceedings that were to take place in Tehran, in the capital, have now been completed, and the body of the coffin of the Supreme Leader have been transported to the Iranian holy city of Qom, where the next day of proceedings will be held. And then tomorrow, the coffin will be transported to Iraq and will be brought to the holy cities of Najaf and Karbala before being returned to Iran for the 7th and final day of the 7-day program, which will take place in the city of Mashhad, which is where we're heading. And we'll be there for 3 days. Mashhad is the 2nd largest city in Iran, with a population of about 3.4 million. It is also a holy city and the birthplace of Ali Khamenei. And we will be taking a train there. I understand it's going to be a 12-hour train ride, departing this afternoon at 3:30 p.m. We'll arrive in the early hours of the morning. We were told not to take our suitcases, but rather to take as little as we could in a knapsack, because for some reason we may have to walk to our hotel from the train station. I imagine that's because the city is largely shut down and the streets are blockaded in preparation for the final day of the Supreme Leader's funeral. Again, 2 women walking without a hijab and nobody is bothering them. Hi folks, it's now about 3 in the afternoon, and we have arrived, our entourage of foreign journalists, at the train station to grab a 12-hour train to Mashhad. And I don't think I've been to this particular train station before. I'll just show you what it looks like. It's right here behind me. And off in the distance there, you can see the members of our entourage. We just spent several hours at a hotel facility, a different one from the hotel in which we have been staying these past several days, for an event where various journalists, including yours truly, were asked to speak to their experiences here in Tehran during the last 4 days. And then we were afforded the opportunity to meet with and hear a speech from the spokesperson of the Iranian Foreign Ministry. You may have seen and heard from him in the past if you've been following what's going on in Iran. His name is Esmail Baghaei.
If we talk about sovereignty, he has been fighting in defense of Iran's sovereignty against interference. And sovereignty, respect for sovereignty, is the most fundamental principle of the United Nations Charter and of international law. If you're talking about resistance, the axis of resistance, we are talking about the founding principles of the UN Charter again. We are talking about the right to self-determination. Defending for the right to self-determination is a sacred cause. Defending against foreign occupation, foreign domination, apartheid, and racism. Each and every member state is obligated under international law to assist liberation movements for the cause of self-determination under international law. So I can claim that our supreme leader was not only calling for the sovereignty of Iran as his nation, but also he was defending the most important principles of international law, of modern international law. We hear frequently that the Europeans, the Westerners, regard themselves as the self-proclaimed heroes of human rights and international law. That's not true, because they have been complicit in destroying those main principles. The principle of sovereignty was badly damaged when the United States and Israel attacked Iran. Not only once, 2 times in less than 9 months. And I think the Europeans owe us a lot, because they had to stand up in defense of what they have been claiming to be their core values: the rule of law and international law, international humanitarian law. International humanitarian law was slaughtered during their imposed war against Iran. Look what they did in Minab, in Martyred. They massacred so many innocent Iranians. Their attack against our Supreme Leader's compound was a blatant war crime. Alongside our leader, 4 of his families were martyred. 3 women, 2 women and 1 small girl. So if they are truly advocating for international law, human rights, and UN Charter, they had to refrain from being silent, because indifference in the face of injustice makes you complicit in the crimes. What we are watching right now is the erosion of not only principles of international law, but also of human values, moral values. And that's where we all should be united. What you call as new imperialism or new colonialism, you can watch it in occupied Palestine, in Lebanon. And the fact that the Zionist regime is being supported, is doing all its atrocities with complete impunity, is a testament to the whole West complicity in the crime. And I agree with Sheikh that we are not talking about the ordinary people in the West, in the streets of European cities and the United States. But at the same time, we should not forget the fact that if we want to see any change, if we want to see the stoppage of this very dangerous trend globally, we all, as the people, should rise up and should get united against this wave of lawless behavior. So again, thank you so much for being here. I think you have been part of history. Our Supreme Leader, Sayyid Ali Khamenei, doesn't belong only to Iran. He even doesn't belong to the region, to Shias or to the Muslim, because he fought for human values. He fought for freedom of the whole human being. That's why we can see so many people across the board rushing to pay respect to him, despite the fact that the governments were bullied by the United States and others not to attend this funeral procession. And you also watched the Iranian people, they poured into the streets while they were sad, while they were angry, but at the same time, they showed unprecedented discipline. And this is what a civilization looks like. That's what and how a nation of historic origin looks like. We are proud of our nation, we are proud of our leaders, we are proud of the principles of the revolution that gave us such an inner confidence in ourselves that we have to stand by ourselves, that we have to be united in the face of such aggressions and unlawful acts of war. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you again in my country. Thank you.
In other news, 2 ultra-large tankers in the Strait of Hormuz have reportedly been struck, presumably by Iranian projectiles. One of them was associated with or flagged by Saudi Arabia, the other associated with or flagged by Qatar, and reportedly they were both trying to use the Omani lane without the authorization of the Iranian military. And following these attacks, the reports are that vessels which had been perhaps inclined to transit the strait using the Omani lane shifted over to the Iranian lane. So even though the funeral of the Supreme Leader is ongoing, the Iranian military continues to exercise vigilance in maintaining control over the Strait of Hormuz. You can, of course, count on Trump to try to exploit the situation to subvert Iranian control of the strait. Now, as we were walking over here from the baggage check-in at the train station, I managed to have a few words with geopolitical analyst extraordinaire Patrick Henningsen as we were walking over to the waiting area for our train, and here's what Patrick had to say. I'm here with the ever-estimable Patrick Henningsen. We're heading off to Mashhad. Patrick, any thoughts about what you've experienced thus far on this trip?
Too much to put into words, probably for the purposes of your video here, but we're all, I can speak for the rest of my colleagues, I'm sure, especially those of us from the Western countries. We're absolutely speechless and blown away by what we've experienced and witnessed over the last 4 days, and I've never seen anything like it. I've been to some of the biggest gatherings in the world, from the papal visits to even here in Iran, the National Day, Revolutionary Day in February, where 2 million people were on the streets of Tehran that was dwarfed by orders of magnitude by what we saw yesterday.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's hard to put into the level of energy, the human energy that everyone felt and witnessed is. I've never seen anything like it, and
It kind of makes a packed Super Bowl stadium look like a telephone booth.
it's pretty insignificant.
Yeah.
So this country, the human element here, there's all the focus on the leader, of course, and well, it should be. He's a giant, significant personality, but what was he leading?
Absolutely.
The people, and we saw that, and that's just something that I wish more Westerners had a good grip on, because if they did, they probably would ban all the erroneous assumptions about Iran that they've been living with for the last 50 years.
Thank you very much for sharing that with us, Patrick. I hope we'll have a chance for a real conversation later on.
Definitely.
Thank you. In yet other news, the psychopathic war criminal Donald Trump has yet again issued quasi-genocidal threats against the Islamic Republic. He told the media that he could finish the job if Iran didn't make the desired concessions, which undoubtedly amount to a total capitulation, and that ain't going to happen. And Donald said, well, if they don't do the deal on the terms that we can accept, we are going to take out their bridges in an hour. And just imagine that. This lunatic thinks that a country the size of Western Europe could lose all of its bridges within the space of an hour. They couldn't take out all of Iran's bridges in an hour using nuclear weapons, let alone using conventional weapons. And he also said that they would destroy all of Iran's power plants, and I think he claimed ludicrously that that could be done in the space of half a day or less. Again, that is sheer stupidity. Nobody would take it seriously. But what really is incomprehensible about this character is he's made even more explicitly genocidal threats than that. On one occasion, for example, he said that he was going to wipe out Iranian civilization in the course of a night if Iran didn't play ball. And on none of these occasions did the Iranian military or political leadership capitulate. They've continued to be quite firm in their terms, as they are today. They never seem to have wavered from their core demands. And why does he do it? Why does he continue to issue these threats, which, by the way, are a flagrant violation of Article 1 of the Memorandum of Understanding, which explicitly requires both sides to refrain from threats to use force against the other. But why would he do it, knowing that on all prior occasions, even when he's issued threats that are more genocidal in character, Iran has not capitulated? Well, I guess there are a couple of explanations. One possible explanation is that he's just insane, which I find entirely believable, and I'm sure many of you do. The other explanation is that he doesn't really expect this is going to affect Iran's behavior. What he's simply doing is he's playing the tough guy for the more sadistic and supremacist part of his base. Maybe he thinks that kind of language, tintillates them and makes it more likely that they'll support the Republicans in the upcoming midterms. I don't know. Or maybe he's just stupid enough to believe that this will ultimately cause Iran to capitulate. But what's even more mind-boggling about all of this is that he made the threat at the time that the Iranian people were going out into the streets in absolutely enormous numbers, not only to grieve the brazen murder of the supreme leader and his family members, including his granddaughter, but they were also calling for Trump's head, over and over again, explicitly demanding vengeance against the Donald himself. So you'd think that a people who behave in this way, after having suffered the atrocities that the United States and the satanic Israeli entity inflicted upon them during these past, not just several months, but several decades, really, you'd think that at this particular moment, of all other moments, he would realize that these people are not going to bend the knee to Washington. But again, that didn't seem to persuade him that the threat would be useless. So I'll continue to report to you as we make our way to Mashhad, and I do intend, before we get there, if I can, in reasonable circumstances, with a suitably quiet corner and reasonable lighting, speak to a colleague here, an investigative journalist from Britain, who did an exhaustive investigation into the claims that Iranian security forces murdered thousands of unarmed protesters in January. I've spoken to her about this at some length, and it was an impressive investigation. I think you'll be most interested to hear what she has to say.